You have spent your entire life being the strong one, the one who fixes things, the one who never asks for help. But what if that legendary independence is not a superpower? What if clinical psychology calls it something else entirely? A trauma response. Today, we are dissecting the dark side of a generation that was taught to disappear. Picture a cold afternoon in 1978. You are 8 years old walking home from school. The key hangs on a string around your neck, heavy against your chest. You let yourself into an empty house. There are no smartphones, no cameras, no parents coming home for another 4 hours. You make your own snack, do your homework in the silence, and learn a silent lesson. Nobody is coming to save you. For decades, this was praised as the gold standard of self-reliance. The media called this generation resilient, tough, and adaptable. But beneath that armor lies a hidden psychological phenomenon known as hyper-independence. In clinical settings, hyper-independence is not viewed as a virtue. It is recognized as a coping mechanism triggered by childhood emotional neglect. When a child realizes that their caregivers are unavailable, the brain adapts by completely shutting down the instinct to rely on others. You learn to anticipate consequences 3 steps ahead, building a fortress around your vulnerability. This empty house did more than just make you self-reliant. It drilled in the idea that you are entirely on your own. As adults, this manifests as a deep, subconscious anxiety whenever you have to delegate a task or ask for support. Asking for help does not feel like cooperation. It feels like danger. It feels like admitting defeat. You tell yourself that you just prefer to do it yourself because it is faster, but the deeper truth is that you are terrified of the rug being pulled out from under you again. You are still that 8-year-old child in the quiet kitchen, holding a key, waiting for a security that never arrived. Let us look at how this invisible armor actually works in your daily life. Imagine you are at work or at home, and you are completely overwhelmed. You have 3 deadlines approaching, the sink is leaking, and you have not slept a full 8 hours in weeks. A normal psychological response would be to reach out, to delegate, to say, "I am drowning, can you help me?" But for you, the thought of saying those words physically hurts. Your chest tightens. Your breathing gets shallow. Why? Because asking for help does not just feel uncomfortable. To your nervous system, it feels life-threatening. This is where clinical psychology gets fascinating. Your brain has wired vulnerability directly to danger. When you even contemplate relying on someone else, your amygdala, the alarm system in your brain, triggers a fight or flight response. You are suddenly gripped by the subconscious terror that if you hand over control, they will fail you, they will judge you, or worse, they will abandon you. So, what do? You deploy the classic Generation X defense mechanism, the "I will just do it myself" syndrome. People often mistake this for ambition or perfectionism. They think you are just a micromanager who wants things done right. But let us be brutally honest. You do not want to do everything yourself. You are exhausted. You do it because controlling the outcome is the only way you know how to soothe your anxiety. If you do it yourself, you cannot be disappointed. If you do it yourself, no one can hold anything over your head. Your competence is your shield, and this armor extends far beyond the workplace. It bleeds into how you love. Generation X loves deeply, fiercely, and with an intense loyalty. But you rarely show it without a protective layer of sarcasm. Think about it. How often do you deflect a genuine compliment with a self-deprecating joke? How often do you crack a cynical comment right when a conversation gets too emotional? Irony is your safe house. If you keep things at an arm's length, if you laugh it off before it stings, no one can use your feelings against you. You learned during the Cold War, watching divorce rates skyrocket in the 1970s and 1980s, that permanence is a myth. Everything breaks eventually. But here's the tragic irony of building an impenetrable fortress. It keeps the pain out, yes, but it also keeps the love out. You have created a life where you are the pillar for everyone around you. You are the one they call when everything falls apart. Yet, sitting right there in the middle of a crowded room, surrounded by colleagues who respect you and a family who loves you, you have never felt more utterly and completely alone. You are surviving, but you are starving for a connection you will not let yourself have. For decades, that invisible armor worked flawlessly. You built a career, raised a family, and navigated the complexities of adulthood without ever letting the mask slip. You became the ultimate problem solver. But here is the terrifying reality about the human psyche. You can ignore your trauma, but your trauma never ignores you. It just waits. And right now, an entire generation is slamming into a psychological brick wall. Clinical psychologists call this the midlife collision. It usually happens right around the age of 45 to 55. This is the point where the sheer weight of holding everything together for 40 years becomes biologically and emotionally unsustainable. The collision does not happen all at once. It starts with a subtle fracturing. Maybe the company you gave 20 years of your life to decides to downsize. Suddenly, your competence, the very thing you used to shield yourself from the world, is no longer enough to protect you. Maybe your aging parents, the ones who left you alone in that empty house, start getting sick. This forces you into a role of caregiving that brings back a flood of unresolved grief. Your defense mechanisms are suddenly overwhelmed. The strategy of just putting your head down and working harder simply stops working. And nowhere is this collapse more devastating than in your own home. Across the United States, we are seeing a massive, unprecedented spike in what sociologists call gray divorce. Couples splitting up after 20 or 30 years of marriage? Society likes to blame this on empty nest syndrome, but the clinical reality is much darker. Your partner is not leaving because the kids moved out. They are leaving because of emotional starvation. For decades, they have been trying to breach your fortress. They wanted to hold you when you were weak. They wanted to see the raw, vulnerable side of you. But every time they got close, you cracked a joke, changed the subject, or simply shut down. You thought you were protecting them from your burdens. But psychology tells us that intimacy requires shared vulnerability. By refusing to lean on your partner, you slowly starved the marriage of the very connection it needed to survive. They did not leave because you were weak. They left because you never allowed yourself to be anything but strong. But the most brutal twist of hyper-independence happens inside your own body. Emotions are not just abstract thoughts. They are physiological events. When you swallow your fear, suppress your anxiety, and refuse to cry, those stress hormones do not just evaporate. They get trapped in your nervous system. Your body has been living in a low-grade fight-or-flight state since you were 8 years old. Think about the sheer amount of energy it takes to hold a beach ball underwater for 4 decades. Eventually, the pressure cooker explodes. By the time you reach your 50s, the body demands its revenge. There is a profound reason why this generation is currently experiencing skyrocketing rates of autoimmune diseases, chronic fatigue syndrome, and unexplained physical pain. Your mind refused to ask for help, so your body is doing it for you. Your immune system is attacking itself because it has been programmed to view everything, even your own feelings, as a threat. This is the devastating paradox of your survival strategy. The extreme self-reliance that kept you safe when you were a teenager is now tearing your life apart from the inside out. The very armor that protected you from the coldness of the world is now suffocating you. You are standing in the wreckage of your own making, exhausted to your bones, realizing that the survival mechanism that saved you at 15 is the exact same thing that is killing you at 50. let us shift the focus to the most uncomfortable truth of all. The way this armor has shaped the next generation. When you were growing up in the 1970s and 1980s, navigating that empty house, you made a silent promise to yourself. You swore that if you ever had children, they would never feel that kind of isolation. They would never have to cook their own dinner at 8 years old or walk home alone in the dark. You were going to be present. You were going to be the parent you desperately needed. And you did exactly that. You showed up to every soccer game, you tracked their location on their phones to keep them safe, and you made sure their lives were entirely insulated from the harshness you endured. But psychology reveals a deeply unsettling paradox about trauma. When you try to completely erase the pain of your past, you almost always end up overcompensating in the present. This overcompensation merged with your hyper-independence to create a very specific, very dangerous style of parenting. Think about your daily interactions with your Generation Z children. When they struggle with a task, what is your immediate instinct? Your nervous system, wired to believe that relying on others is dangerous and that doing it yourself is the only safe option, takes over. Instead of letting them fail, you step in and fix it. You rewrite their essays, you make their phone calls, you intervene with their teachers. You tell yourself you are just being a good parent, protecting them from the stress you had to face. But let us look at the clinical reality. By constantly stepping in, by refusing to let them face the natural consequences of the physical world, you are not just protecting them. You are unintentionally stripping them of the very psychological tools they need to survive. You built your identity on being able to fix a broken bicycle chain or navigate a city without a map. You developed mechanical and emotional intuition through trial and error. By doing everything for them because it was faster or safer, you robbed them of that trial and error. And now we are looking at a Generation Z that is experiencing the highest rates of clinical anxiety and depression in recorded history. They are terrified of making phone calls, paralyzed by minor decisions, and deeply dependent on external validation. They are the most protected generation in history, yet they feel completely unsafe. This is the generational bleed. You did not pass down your independence. You passed down your anxiety. You took the emotional neglect of your childhood, flipped it completely upside down, and smothered them with anxious control. The tragic psychological truth is this. Extreme overprotection creates the exact same profound sense of helplessness as extreme neglect. Your trauma just put on a different mask. So how do you take off an armor that has actually become your skin? How do you unlearn a survival mechanism that has kept you safe for 40 years? In clinical psychology, healing from hyperindependence does not mean you suddenly become helpless or dependent. It means you expand your capacity to trust. It is about realizing that letting someone else carry the heavy weight for a few hours will not cause your entire world to collapse. The first step in this psychological rewiring is recognizing the physical trigger. The next time you are overwhelmed and your partner, your colleague, or your friend asks if they can help, pay attention to what happens inside your body. Your chest will tighten. Your brain will immediately scream at you to say, "No, I have got it. It is fine. I will just do it myself." In that exact moment, you need to use a 5-second rule. Before you reject their help, count to 5 seconds in your head. Breathe through the sudden anxiety, and then force yourself to say one simple word. Yes. Hand over one small task. Let them do it imperfectly. Let them load the dishwasher wrong. Let them handle the problem their way. Your nervous system will absolutely panic at first, but when the massive disaster you are anticipating does not happen, your brain begins to heal. It slowly learns a brand new reality. People can actually be trusted. Generation X, your true strength never actually lied in your ability to endure profound isolation. Your true strength is your unmatched resilience. You survived the massive cultural shifts, the terrifying economic crashes, and the quiet emotional neglect of your own childhood. You built everything you have from the ground up with grease on your hands and zero instructions. But you do not have to just survive anymore. You have fought hard enough. You have earned the right to rest. You have earned the right to fall apart a little bit and let someone else put the pieces back together for you. Breaking down this emotional wall is the most terrifying thing you will ever do because it requires you to grieve for the lonely child who had to grow up way too fast. But it is also the most beautiful thing you will ever do because it is the exact key to finally experiencing the deep, meaningful connection you have been starving for all these years. If this message made you feel seen today, please subscribe to the channel and share this with someone who really needs to hear it. Maybe share it with your partner or your children and use it to start the conversation you have been avoiding for decades. It is time to take that heavy string off your neck. It is time to put the key away. You are not 8 years old anymore, and you are no longer in that cold, empty house